from the German American Bank Studio in downtown Bowling Green. This is News 40 at 6 on WNKY CBS 40.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Morgan Hoover. Well, crime statistics earlier this week suggest violent crime in southern Kentucky is mostly holding steady. But News 40 discovered one troubling trend that was not obvious when the information was first released. It's something that is not talked about openly. Officers are having to respond to mental health issues more now than ever before. In Bowling Green, police spend 400 hours a month on mental health calls. Other counties are spending money on overtime for their officers for the same reason. Krista Garrison begins our team coverage.
A call comes in, a suicidal person is a danger to themselves, and police respond. What happens next? For Glasgow police, they show up at the scene, assess the situation, and oftentimes take the person in crisis to Life Skills or Western State Hospital in Hopkinsville. That involves driving the person there, waiting for intake, and then returning to Glasgow. Sergeant Aaron Cohen, a Glasgow police officer, says this can take an average of about a half a shift for an officer. And these trips are being made almost every single day.
We want to serve our community, but sometimes it could be taxing on our agency. It could prevent an officer from being on patrol and carrying out those duties.
The issue is not just one of how many officers are on the street, but also the emotional impact it has on officers who meet someone in crisis.
It's a difficult position to be in. A lot of the patients that we see, the individuals that we see, we see them quite often.
In fact, just this year, Glasgow has had 242 transports already and have responded to 169 calls of someone attempting or threatening suicide. According to the Warren County Coroner's yearly report, the county has had a steadily increasing number of suicides over the past 3 years. This year's numbers have not yet been completed. Melanie Watts, Director of Community Relations of Life Skills, says the Behavioral Health Center works hard to help people in crisis as well. But Kentucky has strict laws about when they can force someone to stay in treatment and when they must be released.
There's a lot to meet criteria to take someone's civil liberties away. And so just because someone has suicidal ideation at that moment doesn't mean they're suicidal 24 hours later.
Watts said her time as a police officer years ago, mental health wasn't talked about like it is today, and she's glad to see a change.
There was such a stigma that you don't talk about it, that if you had children who had mental health issues, you didn't speak of it, it didn't exist. And now there are just so many people that are willing to wrap their arms around you and give you the help that you need.
Krista Garrison, News 40, Glasgow.
And as we mentioned, the statistics of suicide are often ignored. Many families often talk about it only in hushed whispers because the pain is just so deep. I sat down and spoke with a family member who still gets emotional even though she lost her sister 11 years ago.
11 years later, it gets me.
Rebecca Corsi is a big sister to a bubbly blonde named Carolyn.
We didn't see it coming. We didn't see the pain she was in, because she presented as this beautiful young girl. She was newly married. She texted me and she said, "I'm not feeling good. I don't know what I'm going to do." So after that, I couldn't get hold of her. I called her, texted her, and I couldn't get hold of her. So I told my mom, I said, "Something's going on." So she overdosed. She struggled for about 2 weeks and finally had a stroke. And you get that call at 3 a.m. It's rough. It's really rough.
That's got to be really tough for a family member because you think maybe, what could I have done different? Do you feel that way?
I have. I could see the signs, and I have a lot of guilt with that. And I think a lot of survivors of suicides who have those in their family or friends, I think that's one of the things they go through is the guilt. Because what could I have done? And why didn't I see this? And why didn't I call 911? And at the time, you don't feel like it's going to get better. Mm-hmm. I mean, it feels like it's going to be forever. And you kind of feel like a burden to people. And I think that's one of the things, I guess, people who complete suicide, they feel like they might be burdens, because wouldn't they be better off but that's not the case. And I've been in that dark place. I have. And I don't think people necessarily want to die or don't want to live. I just think people are in pain and they want the pain to stop. So it's a very long-term solution that you can't take back to a short-term problem.
But Rebecca now uses Carolyn's legacy to help others struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts.
You know, a year after that, I woke up in the middle of the night and I just felt something pulling on my heart. But I just felt like I needed to do something. Like I couldn't help her, couldn't save her, but maybe I could help other people never give up hope. And I know hope exists because I've lived it.
There's always hope, and there is always help. Locally, there are many organizations that can help you if you or a loved one is struggling with mental illness, depression, or suicidal thoughts. Rebecca is involved with the organization NAMI. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They hold weekly support groups. They have also been a number of support systems created on WKU's campus. Jay Gabbard tells me that many college kids struggle with mental illness. Many don't always know how to ask for help, or they believe there's a stigma tied to mental illness. He says suicides on campus have actually increased. And to combat this, they started an on-campus support group for people struggling with thoughts of suicide.
For some of the college students, their parents either don't accept the fact that they have a mental illness or they highly stigmatize it. It's particularly present with men. A lot of times we're kind of socialized not to express our emotions.
If you or someone you know needs help, there are several ways to reach out. The National Suicide Hotline, that number is on your screen. It's 1-800-273-TALK. That will put you in touch with a local representative. You can also reach out to Life Skills. They offer mental health services. Their number is 270-901-5000. You can also visit our website for more details. Well, News 40 has learned the first Afghan refugees are headed to Bowling Green at this hour. They were among those who were quickly evacuated from Afghanistan during those chaotic days last month after President Biden suddenly pulled all Americans out. Lexi Schweinert is standing by at the Nashville airport with the exclusive story. Good evening, Lexi.
Good evening. The first two Afghan refugees just landed in Nashville at 4:36 p.m. this afternoon, and they will be living in Bowling Green. This is a huge day, something we've talked about for months. Albert Mbamfu, the executive director of the International Center of Kentucky, will be escorting them back to Bowling Green and their new home later tonight. These are the first two. They're a couple, a 23-year-old woman and a 33-year-old man. These first two will be the two of 200 that will be coming to Bowling Green up until March 31st of next year, 2022. Albert Mbamfu says this is the first day of many happy days.
Today is a wonderful day. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day. And we are so excited to receive this first family, and many more are coming. And what I want to say is thank you to the people of Bowling Green.
Albert says he'll be picking up a family of 10 refugees from the airport tomorrow, and on Sunday he'll be picking up 2 more. I'll have more tonight in our 10 p.m.
All right, thank you, Lexi. Well, let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett for a first look at our forecast. Hey there, Scott.
Hey, Morgan, some great news about the weather. The rain that we've been seeing, look at this. It is actually moving out now. The last of the rain really around central Kentucky into eastern Kentucky and then along the Ohio River. We could still see an isolated shower develop tonight, even into the weekend, but for the most part, all that rain we saw in that cutoff low saying goodbye to south central Kentucky. So that is some very good news. Now, as far as those temperatures are concerned, we had some sunshine today mixed with the clouds. Temperatures not too bad, still trending above average in a lot of communities. We're seeing the low to mid 70s east of I-70 or I-65, Munfordville 74, Glasgow, Scottsville, Edmonton 75, a little warmer off to the west in the upper 70s. And if you're heading out tonight, well, I don't think you're going to need the umbrella so much, but get ready for some warm temperatures. The last of the rain I mentioned is moving out. We'll be warming up just a bit heading into the weekend. Isolated showers, well, there is that chance into the weekend, and then more rain next week. We'll cover all that in 7-day forecast in just a few minutes, Morgan.
All right, thank you, Scott. Well, coming up next on News 40, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is not happy about Republicans caving to Democrat demands in Washington. The latest on that after the break. More local news now. College football is in full swing, and the Western Kentucky University Hilltoppers haven't been shaken up by the pandemic. In fact, the Hilltoppers haven't had to forfeit any games or bench any players for COVID-related reasons. This is a feat that some university teams can't claim. Senior Executive Director of Sports Medicine and Student Athlete Health and Wellness, Mike Gaddy, says the team is taking momentum from last year, meaning players are very cautious when it comes to what they're doing while off the field. Now, this includes following all CDC guidelines. Gaddy says this also comes from the players keeping each other accountable. And what players do off the field is just as important as what they do on the field.
I hear that the kids are making the right decisions and everybody is on board because, you know, at the end of the day, we are trying to compete every week and we're trying to do all the right things, and that's the buy-in. And there's a lot of little things that have to go on outside of the sport for that, and obviously the COVID thing has put that in the mindset of everybody too.
COVID cases in local high school football programs have decreased as time went on, from 24 cancellations to only 4 as of recently. And while Democrats appear to be getting a little bit of a break from Kentucky's Mitch McConnell on the debt ceiling, Kentucky's junior Senator Rand Paul is not so pleased. He talked today with News 40's Lexi Schweinert.
Big news in Washington. Democrats and Republicans reached an agreement this morning to raise the debt limit. The deal saves the country from financial default, which would have impacted every American citizen. But Kentucky Senator Rand Paul doesn't think the deal is a good idea. Do you agree with this, and why?
I think borrowing another $5 trillion this year is irresponsible. It's going to lead to inflation. It's going to lead to rising prices in the grocery store, at the gas pump, rent, you name it. And it's going to hurt a lot of working class people. It's going to hurt a lot of people who are on fixed income, who are retired.
Now that the debt is at historic levels, there's even talk the U.S. Treasury Department would have to mint a $1 trillion coin. Republicans had held strong against the Democrats until Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell offered the compromise. And do you think that temporary extension that McConnell brought up would just prolong inevitable problems?
I think that the debt we're accumulating at this point is historic in the sense that we're accumulating it more rapidly than we've ever accumulated debt in our history. We're at 5% inflation. Some are saying we could get to 6 or 7%. I think we could actually get to double digit or 10% inflation like we had in the 1970s.
And as all of this unfolded, Senator Paul was also introducing a new FDA proposal. It would limit animal testing and use different methods. What does it really mean, and do you think the FDA is going to support it? Do you think they're going to change?
So there is a debate over what's necessary, but there's also a debate over what is humane. And I think our sensibilities change over time. There may be times when it is necessary to use animals in research, and I think they still will be, but our bill gives them the option. Right now, they have to use animals. We're going to give them the option of finding other way outs. And scientists are like anybody else. There are going to be scientists who own pets and dogs and say, you know what? Let's see if there's another way. This will include Republicans and Democrats, and people think we can't get along in Washington. But guess what? When it comes to puppies, maybe we can find some bipartisanship.
Lexi Schweinert, News 40, Bowling Green.
Well, stay with us. Your full forecast is coming up next. Time now for a full look at our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett. Scott, I know there's been a few spotty showers throughout the day. It's pretty dry at the moment right now, though.
Yeah, and most of the showers have been along and east of I-65. Still lots of clouds out there. Those are going to start to slowly clear out, especially as we head into tomorrow. Check out the time lapse, though, on the almanac earlier today. You can see those clouds, especially around the lunch hour. It got a little dark in some spots still. Well, the sun came out and warm temperatures up once again above where they should be. For this time of year, we topped out at 80 degrees officially at the Bowling Green Regional Airport's National Weather Service office. We should only be up to 76 for this time of year, so we are still trending above average as far as the heat is concerned. Not feeling like fall out there. May not be feeling like pumpkin spice right now. The record high, by the way, 1941, 93 degrees. The morning low, once again, we were quite warm. Not as warm as we were yesterday morning with the rain coming through, but still 63. We should be down in the low 50s. And the record low back in 1889 on this date, 28 chilly degrees out there. Nothing as far as any rain officially after midnight at the National Weather Service office in Bowling Green. We did have some late night storms out there. You may have heard a rumble of thunder or seen a flash of lightning if you were up during the late night, early morning hours. And look at that, sun's getting ready to set. Beautiful out there at Smiths Grove, 77 right now. The winds are coming out of the east at 3 miles an hour. Humidity 71%, dew point 67. So it is getting humid out there. The humidity kicking up as that temperature falls towards the dew point temperature. That's going to create that risk for some fog later tonight. So be careful if you're going to be out. Barometric pressure continues to fall now. That low pressure system, though, that cutoff low we've been talking about for several days, it is finally starting to move away from the area. We should start to see that barometric pressure rise. Low 70s in some areas now, though. Now that the rain's clearing out, skies are trying to clear out. That's letting all the sunlight that we got earlier today, all the heat, escape back into the atmosphere. So 72 in Glasgow, 74 in Munfordville, 74 in Edmonton. Off to the west, though, where it's been a little sunnier and less rain, Woodbury, Russellville, Franklin, all reporting the upper 70s at 77 degrees. And you can see those temperatures just updated. We will see those temperatures continue to fall through the evening hours tonight, although once again, we're going to be trending above average once again. We have a little area of rain near the Ohio River and really extending up into southern Indiana. And then off to the east, this is where most of the rain is in eastern Kentucky now and along I-75, so central eastern Kentucky. And we could see a dot of a shower from time to time tonight, an isolated shower. I think most areas are going to stay dry as we head into the late night hours tonight, so good news there. And you'll see on Futurecast tomorrow looking pretty nice, but here goes that cutoff low up towards the Great Lakes, and that's what's going to take the rain with it. Here goes that trough associated with the low pressure system, and the rain continues to exit on out. I still say that for the weekend, tomorrow into the weekend, that isolated shower chance is possible. So if you see the skies start to cloud a little bit, don't be surprised. All in all, though, things looking pretty dry for the weekend. Tonight, 60 degrees. Those isolated storms continue to move on out. Fog, though, towards morning. Tomorrow, we should see a mix of sun and clouds with another isolated storm possible. 79 for the high tomorrow. So a lot like today, maybe a degree or two cooler with those southwesterly winds at 5 miles an hour. 7-day forecast. Look at this. We warm up into the mid 80s on Sunday. So not feeling like football weather for the weekend. We'll cool things down next week as a cold front comes in and brings more shower thunderstorm chances with us on Monday. That's a look at your 7-day forecast. Maxwell Trinks back with sports next. But first, here's what's coming up tonight on CBS News 40.
Welcome back. WKU basketball is gearing up for its season opener just next month. With basketball season just around the corner, expectations surrounding the WKU men's basketball program are just as high as always. The Tops have been in the Conference USA Championships 3 out of their last 4 years, but have been unable to get over the hump. Head coach Rick Stansberry is fully aware of the challenges in place to win a championship.
I mean, our guys found a way to win a conference championship last year. It ain't easy. And it's done in a tough situation. You know, last year couldn't have been a worse time to neutralize our talent. It got neutralized by 2 things: crowds, lack of crowds, I should say, lack of crowds, and that second night deal. We lose 2 games in the league on a second night, and never would have happened.
If you aren't following the success of WKU's soccer team this season, well, it's time that you do that. WKU soccer has started the season with a 9-1 record, 4-0 in conference play. Head coach Jason Nidell couldn't be happier for his squad and credits his players wanting to succeed more than anything else.
Yeah, it's the season's been an incredible joy. I mean, you know, our all the credit to our student athletes. They have been exceptional in every respect. Their preparation for matches, their total buy-in, their commitment to the game, their commitment to winning, their commitment to each other. It's been a really fun ride up to this point, and we're just excited to be in the mix, to be having this conversation right now.
Let's move on over to the gridiron. WKU has had a rocky start to the season since their home opening win. The Tops have dropped 3 straight. But don't let the record fool you. The Hilltopper offense is one of the most explosive in the entire nation, and it's led by quarterback Billy Zappi. WKU's Jarrett Stearns is not only teammates with Zappi, but also one of his best friends.
It means everything. Like you said, that's my guy. We trust each other with everything, and I'll say the same thing about him. But I bet if you walk around this facility, this campus, you ask anybody in Bowling Green, they'll say Bailey's the best in the nation.
And moving on over to the pros, the Tennessee Titans are looking to get back on track after a tough Week 4 loss against the New York Jets. The Titans are set to pay a visit to the Jacksonville Jaguars Sunday afternoon in their 2nd divisional matchup of the year. The star of the backfield, Derrick Henry, is excited to return home and see some familiar faces cheering him on in the crowd.
It's always fun and special when, you know, all my family can come watch me. You know, having that home home presence again, being back home, and just really just have my family there, and having them watch me play is always nice.
And of course, it's always nice to see the Titans at home, but if they're going to go on the road, it's nice for Derrick Henry to have a little bit of a homecoming, of course.
Oh, absolutely. Before we go, I want to remind you of tomorrow's Food Truck Friday. Tin Roof Coffee will be here from 11 to 2 in our parking lot, so come out and see us. Grab a cup of coffee. A portion of the proceeds will go to benefit our nonprofit of the month, that is Habitat for Humanity. And if you don't like coffee, like Scott, don't worry.
Blame me, right?
Scott already asked. They have more than coffee, right?
Yeah, they've got several different things. They've got some hot tea, among other things. Actually, I messaged them on Facebook. That's how important it was to me. So
any Arnold Palmers?
I did not ask, but if you are not a coffee drinker, still, there'll be something for you. So as far as the Window World sunrise, sunset times, looking better tomorrow. I think we'll deal with some fog tomorrow morning at 6:46 a.m. for that sunrise. Sunset, 6:20, looking better, though. Skies clearing out and should be mostly clear by then.
All right, Scott, thank you so much. And thank you at home for joining us tonight. We hope you will join us at 10 o'clock over on NBC. Have a great evening, everyone.
Live from the German American Bank Studio in downtown Bowling Green, this is News 40 at 10 on WNKY NBC 40.
Good evening, I'm Morgan Hoover. We have big news just coming into the newsroom. The Hot Rods have won the High A East Championship Series. This is only the second time the Hot Rods have won this title. Maxwell Trink and Patrick Carey will have your full recap. That's coming up in just a bit. But in more news now, the Heaven Hill strike enters into a third week as an agreement between the union workers and the distillery has not been reached. Today, the union, for more than 400 Heaven Hill workers that are still on strike, called on the company to return to the negotiating table in an effort to reach an agreement on a 5-year contract. The company has refused. According to the union, Heaven Hill Distillery is threatening cuts to overtime and unfair scheduling. For nearly 3 weeks, workers have been on strike. Before the strike, a contract was presented to workers that would remove a cap on health insurance premium increases, cut overtime, and reduce pay. That contract was rejected. Union workers began picketing on September 11th. Well, a Bowling Green man found himself arrested twice today. 18-year-old Jerry Smith was charged with wanton endangerment, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct after firing a gun outside of the Bowling Green Police Department. Smith was just released from the Warren County Regional Jail shortly before firing the weapon. No one was injured. Officers arrived quickly and were able to detain Smith. He was quickly taken back to the Warren County Regional Jail. Well, a Warren County garage was destroyed by fire this afternoon. The call came in around 2 o'clock at a farm on Nashville Road. Firefighters had to truck in water to bring the fire under control. Nobody was hurt. The owners say their dog actually alerted them that something was wrong. That's when they saw the flames. An old tractor the family considers to be of sentimental value was inside the barn and burned. This fire is not too far from where officials have been investigating a number of suspected arson cases. So far, there is nothing to indicate this fire was set intentionally. Well, Ford, like all the other car manufacturing companies, is slowly shifting from production away from gas to now electric cars. Car dealerships here in Bowling Green are seeing a growing interest by consumers. The sales manager at the Toyota dealership on Scottsville Road says most new car customers at least ask about electric vehicle options. Electric vehicles and hybrid models still cost a little bit more than traditional gas-powered vehicles, and that keeps some from buying. Right now, roughly 10 to 20% of the Toyota sales in Bowling Green are hybrid vehicles. That number is expected to keep climbing as electric charging stations are added to the region and as private companies make the switch with their business vehicles.
Now, the market has grown exponentially over the past 10, 15 years for hybrid and electric vehicles due to EPA standards, and then also just the commitment to be greener and also achieve that fuel economy just to save money in fuel.
Well, if you drove past the Western Kentucky University softball field tonight, you might have seen a game going on, but instead of college athletes playing, it was Warren County's own first responders. News 40 reporter Megan Stamps has more on that story.
We're all in this together and we're all here for each other. Police is here for fire, fire is here for police, and we're here to support everyone.
First responders around Warren County got together tonight for some friendly rivalry. The Bowling Green Fire Department, Police Department, Warren County Sheriff's Office, and the Western Kentucky University Police Department indulged in some healthy competition at WKU's softball field. Usually the departments play softball one versus another, but in the true spirit of camaraderie, the heroes meshed together for the first time. Teams equally represented with each types of responders. Fire and police alike say that they're happy to put on a united front for the community, and that includes their families watching from the stands.
We don't want there to be division between our fire department and our police department, and we're really good about that. And we're all in this together.
It's awesome to see the families out here and all the kids and stuff, just to kind of get everybody together, all the families, because, I mean, we don't get to get together much, just because of our crazy schedules. So.
All right, well, we're at the bottom of the third inning right now. Somebody just made it to first. Almost made it to first. All right, made it to first. There may be a lot of tension out here on this diamond, but at the end of the day, all of these first responders are truly bonding over this game. In fact, their own kids say so.
Go, Mom! Right!
Officer Melissa Bailey is WKU's first female public information officer. Her daughter Charlie couldn't be any prouder of her mom's job or her softball skills.
It's really cool because they all get to meet new people. I think it's also really awesome that everybody gets to come out here and have some fun.
And as the first game wrapped up with the players ready to bat for game 2, the stadium lights shine brightly over a united group of first responders, all for Team Warren County. Reporting in Bowling Green, I'm Megan Stamps, News 40.
All right, thank you, Megan. Speaking of softball, right? Baseball now. Hot Rods had a wonderful game tonight. It was wonderful weather for that, too. Let's check in now with Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett for a first look at tonight's forecast. Hey there, Scott.
You know, Morgan, I was out there, and it was beautiful weather, perfect temperature for a baseball game. Obviously, perfect ending to a baseball game tonight as well. Looking at the radar, though, not seeing anything across south central Kentucky, even though we do have a weak cold front trying to make its way into the area. If you go down towards the Gulf Coast, though, and towards New Orleans, some showers and thunderstorms, and those continue on to the Texas coast and really in the heart of Texas. And then another patch of storms to the north of that in places like Oklahoma, and extends on into the middle and upper plains. That's an area of rain that we'll be watching that could give us a chance for some showers and storms as early as tomorrow, although it's an isolated chance, and then some showers, even some frozen precipitation in the Intermountain West near places like Denver and Salt Lake City. Not looking at anything as far as any wintry precipitation for us right now, but just a sign that the seasons are changing just a bit. Checking in on those temperatures around here, 67 in Bowling Green, same for Clarksville. Another warm night in Nashville as well, 69 degrees. We'll talk more about some cooling temperatures and some rain chances in just a little bit, Morgan.
All right, thank you, Scott. Well, I know fall just started, but some are already planning for Christmas. The Glasgow Barron Chamber of Commerce made a big announcement today about the Glasgow Christmas Parade, naming their Grand Marshal and releasing their theme. News 40's Krista Garrison has the story.
Our Grand Marshal this year is someone everyone from Barron County recognizes, Halen Adams, who was a finalist on Food Network's Kids Baking Championship.
Halen Adams is a 12-year-old Barron County native who recently competed in a cooking show and did exceptionally well.
Being on the Kids Baking Championship was just an amazing opportunity, and it was so cool to get to go on there and bake in the kitchen and meet Duff and Valerie. And I got in the top 4 out of 12 bakers, so that was just pretty cool to get to do that and just an amazing opportunity.
The theme, Candyland, inspired by all of Halen's sweet treats. Halen says she is thankful that she was chosen to be the Grand Marshal for the Christmas Parade. Since she has never been in a parade before, Halen is really excited. For Halen, the community has been extremely kind to her.
This county means so much to me because they've given me so much support and so many options, and it's so cool and so amazing to have all this support.
Tina Hogue, the chairman of the Christmas Parade Committee for 2021, says Halen serves as an inspiration for other kids to follow their dreams and work hard.
She has worked very, very hard to be able to be on the Kids Baking Championship. It wasn't an easy task, and she worked very hard, had support of a great family, and was able to make that dream happen.
The parade will be held December 4th in downtown Glasgow. Reporting in Glasgow, Krista Garrison, News 40.
Hey, congratulations, Halen. You can pick up your application for the parade at the Chamber office on October 1st, or if you'd like to be in it, you can download it from a link on our website. Well, you may have noticed the name Gabby Petito in headlines lately. The 22-year-old was missing for weeks before her body was found. Her boyfriend, 23-year-old Brian Laundrie, is now a suspect in the case. Authorities now think that Petito was domestically abused by Laundrie. News 40's Lexi Schweiner talked to a professional who works on domestic abuse cases, and they're a survivor. They say cases like these can actually help victims come forward.
Even if you feel like your gut says that there's something more going on, don't be shocked if they say that there isn't, even if all the evidence would prove contrary to that.
Tori Henninger, Executive Director of Barren River Area Safe Space, says Gabby Petito's death is a tragedy. She said it's also bringing awareness to domestic abuse, something Petito endured, as well as an estimated 10 million people a year.
I feel that for years I stayed silent.
Connie Kingry-Knapp is a survivor of domestic abuse. She suffered for decades before leaving her marriage 24 years ago. Now she's an advocate for others.
I decided that I wanted to be a voice for someone who could not speak, whether they be deceased or someone still walking around and they don't know what to do. I want them to know there is light at the end of that tunnel.
They say it's important to know the signs of domestic abuse.
More often than not, victims do not appear the way that you imagine a victim should. You know, one of the things I noticed in the media is a lot of people talk about how hysterical she was and how calm he was. That's not abnormal at all. Once a person gets to a breaking point, you become hysterical. It's no longer just the physical abuse a person endures from their partner. It is psychological abuse, it's verbal, it's emotional.
And also realize that it's hard for victims to come forward.
You don't feel there's anywhere to go. You also feel embarrassed, humiliated, because that's what society tells you. Society will say, well, why didn't you leave in the first place?
Connie hopes Gabby's story and her story encourages others to make a change in their lives.
We will always have victims and we'll always have abusers. But if one person hears what I have to say, then I've done my job.
Reporting in Bowling Green, I'm Lexi Schweiner for News 40.
And a reminder that if you or if someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, there is help available here in Southern Kentucky. That number is 270-843-1183. Well, one Western Kentucky University program is working to make firefighters' jobs safer. WKU faculty members and students are using a $20,000 grant for a pilot study about contaminants in firefighters' work environments. The researchers from WKU Center for Environmental and Workplace Health, as well as the University of Louisville, will study the Green River Firefighters Association. That's a 9-county area. They'll survey over 84 fire stations and collect the data between volunteer firefighters and career firefighters. They'll code their data in hopes of studying and improving infection control, cancer, and COVID risks. Two professors working hands-on with the data say the research is important because they'll use it to teach students, and they'll push past surface-level research.
We allow them to interact with data, make their own interpretation, and see what they learn from the data.
It goes beyond just fighting fires. It's also exposures to chemicals that they may encounter while fighting fires, as well as in their vehicles, on their turnout gear, and then other issues like COVID-19. How do they, when they go to a response and it's someone that has COVID-19, how do they prepare for that?
News 40 will continue to keep you updated with their research. Well, stay with us. Maxwell and Patrick have all of your Hot Rods highlights. That's coming up after this break.
Welcome back to News 40 Sports. Patrick Carey, standing alongside my partner in crime, Maxwell Trink, for what feels like the 100th time today. It's been pretty busy.
It's been a long day, I would say, but a long and fun day for sure.
Well, the Bowling Green Hot Rods made history again tonight. We got the highlights for you, so I say we just go ahead and jump right into it.
I'll kick us off. Let's go. It's do or die for the Hot Rods with the championship on the line. Let's head to that first inning. Bases loaded with one out, but Jose Lopez gets the ground ball for the big double play here, and then that sets you up for the second half of the inning.
Yep, bottom of the half now. Grant Witherspoon shoots this Oppo Taco up out of the Bowling Green ballpark, making it 1-0 Hot Rods.
Let's flash forward a little bit to the 4th inning as a scary situation unfolds. Brett Wisely taps the bag. Check this out. He sends it home, but the catcher forgets, I got to tag the guy. That run does count. And then a throwing error from that same catcher. Another run goes in to score, but BG is able to bounce back in a huge way.
Couldn't agree more, as they are officially the 2021 High East champions. That's a long thing to say, as they secure Game 5 and they win 6-3 tonight.
A huge game. I don't think this could be any bigger, any better, especially after a year with minor league baseball had their cuts, and it was just incredible to see that in person.
It was a lot of fun. I had a blast covering them the last few days. Great interviews, great interactions. It was a lot of fun.
And we talked to Sean Murnan and Eric Leach, and those guys just make the Hot Rods experience so great, and it's a huge shout out to them because they just make this possible for all of us.
They make the city better too with the Hot Rods.
Exactly. But you know what? We have more baseball. Let's head to the Windy City as the Reds were taking on the Chicago White Sox, and the wind was not actually in the Reds' favor. The White Sox hit 3 homers, including this moonshot from Luis Robert. Reds go on to lose this game 7-1. And folks, Reds are out of playoff contention, so we only have 4 more games left for Cincinnati this season.
Well, moving to college volleyball, Tops Volleyball is preparing to head to Miami for a road trip against the FIU Panthers. WKU is currently 13-1 on the season after sweeping the Marshall Thundering Herd this past weekend. Head coach Travis Hudson is excited to hit the road again after a long homestand. Well, it was a big crowd tonight, and speaking of crowds, we're going to hit the wave and toss it back to you.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah, no, we'll have more sports later on.
Absolutely, fellas. Thank you so much. We heard that. Some football headlines are coming your way in just a bit, but first.
A forecast may feel a little more like football weather as we get onto the 7-day, but for tomorrow, looking pretty nice. Yeah, those sunglasses going to come in handy, and still with the shorts and the t-shirt, 69 by noon, probably the last warm day for a while. I'll tell you what that means when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Time now for a full look at our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Scott Burchett. Scott, we couldn't have asked for a better day, weather-wise, sports-wise, too. I know our sports guys are pretty excited over here. But
they all lined up together and worked out really for something nice in BG Ballpark and really around South Central Kentucky. And we also had a pretty nice sunset. Check out the time lapse from early this evening and look at those colors as the sun sank behind the horizon. Pretty nice night out there. It may not be able to see much as far as any stars, though, depending on where you're at, because we will have some fog forming in some of those areas tonight. Today's high, though, look at that, 86 degrees. So we turned it above average. Once again, we should drop down to, or we should rise only to about 79. So those temperatures, those normals or those averages are slowly falling. The record high on this date set back in 1911, 95 degrees. The morning low almost right on the money, 56. We should drop down to the mid-50s. And the record low set back on this date in 1889. Hard to believe, but the coldest it's been on this date is the freezing mark. So that was the record low. Nothing as far as any rain out there, and probably not going to pick up much, if any, over the next 24 hours, even though we have a cold front coming through the area, a weak one at that. 67 degrees is the temperature right now. We're still seeing those temperatures falling as we head in the late evening hours. Winds are calm for the moment. Look at that humidity, 87%. Of course, that's going to help that fog to form as we head into the late night, overnight hours. Dew point 63 degrees, so we're definitely getting an uptick in humidity ahead of that cold front, and the barometric pressure is rising at this hour. Temperatures now, nearly everyone's settling down into the 60s. Woodbury 63, so one of the cooler areas. Munfordville 69, Glasgow 64, so a big variance in those temperatures from just Munfordville directly south into Glasgow, and then Edmonton still in the low 70s. So all in all, though, turning out to be a pretty warm evening, and by normal standards, going to be a warm evening, morning by the time we get to the morning hours. Live radar, this is ground clutter, not seeing anything. Had some showers trying to show up around the Ohio River, and still another one right there trying to show up, and that's about where that cold front is, but basically not hitting the ground. We did have some clouds to form, especially along the Ohio River closer to Evansville, and that's about all we got out of it as far as the moisture in the atmosphere. Futurecast, you can see nothing forming during the overnight hours tonight. Tries to put in a couple of isolated showers tomorrow. I did add that chance for an isolated shower as we get into tomorrow afternoon. But again, most areas going to stay dry, and then we'll see things calm down as we head into overnight hours tomorrow night. And that's because of that cold front passing through and getting its clearance earlier in the day tomorrow. But by the time we get to Thursday, especially Thursday evening, I mentioned earlier in the newscast those showers and storms out to the west. We will see some moisture come up into the area by Thursday night into Friday. Now, here's the thing. When the moisture tries to get here and the rain tries to get here, that Bowling Green bubble takes over according to the models, not showing much actually hitting Bowling Green. I do think we could see a shower or even a thunderstorm as we get into the evening hours on Thursday and again on Friday. Not a washout, but scattered in nature. Tonight, though, dropping down to 62 degrees in the city. The countryside, well, more like 60, 61, so a couple degrees cooler, mostly clear with some late night fog, and those winds will be out south-southwest. Tomorrow, 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. Again, most areas stay dry, but look at that, 85 the high tomorrow, and that's the last quote-unquote warm day, because you'll see those temperatures trending downward, really below average as we get into next week, thanks to a couple of cold fronts making their way through. You can see it on the 7-day forecast, and those morning lows on the warm side at first, but then we drop those to the upper 50s, even the mid-50s by Tuesday morning, and several chances of showers and thunderstorms thanks to some quick hitting fronts. Don't forget to scan that QR code lower left-hand corner of your screen for the latest forecast. Now here's a look at what's coming up tonight on NBC Late Night.
Back, of course, we had your baseball highlights, the championship highlights, of course, but let's take you to the gridiron, Patrick. How about that?
Well, Western Kentucky football hosted the Indiana Hoosiers on Saturday night for the biggest game in the house since 2016. But after losing in a nail-biter to the Hoosiers, the Hilltoppers can't dwell long on the loss as they shift their attention to the undefeated Michigan State Spartans. WKU will hit the road and head to East Lansing for a primetime matchup against the Spartans on Saturday night. Head coach Tyson Helton is excited for the opportunity, but understands the challenges ahead.
Really excited about this week. Get to go play Michigan State. I've been there. It's a great atmosphere. I know our players and our coaches are going to be extremely excited. Had a tough loss last week against a really good Indiana team and really trying to bounce back from that. Hats off to Michigan State. And when you watch them on film, they're playing the right way, and there's a reason why they're undefeated right now. They're doing it the right way for sure. So we'll have a big challenge ahead of us, and looking forward to that challenge. Should be a great game and a great atmosphere.
Let's head over to the pros. Tennessee Titans are coming off a huge win against their divisional foes, the Indianapolis Colts. It was a 4-quarter bout, but the Titans prevailed off the backs of Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, and with solid defensive play, Tennessee is looking to keep up this consistent work ethic.
You know, we knew that this was going to be a battle. We knew that this was going to be a 4-quarter football game. You know, we executed in some critical situations. Defense was great on third down, much better on the red zone, and you can see that those are big factors in helping us win.
And moving to the Queen City, in just week 3, the Cincinnati Bengals picked up one of the biggest wins of the season over the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this big victory will be short-lived as the Cincinnati Bengals have a quick turnaround preparing for a primetime matchup with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars on Thursday night. What some may not realize is Jacksonville head coach Urban Meyer was the Ohio State head coach when Joe Burrow was a Buckeye. The Bengals quarterback rarely saw the field there, causing him to transfer to LSU, and well, we all know the rest is history.
I put in the work. You know, I had some injuries late in my career there, and that, you know, kind of set me back a little bit. And you know, they knew the work I put in every day, and I knew the work I put in every day, and you know, they gave me an opportunity out of high school, and that's all you could ask. And you know, it didn't work out, but you know, the skills and everything that I learned there helped me to get to where I'm at right now.
Definitely fun to see all the action on the gridiron, but coming back, we'll go back a little bit to baseball. Patrick and I test our arms out at Bowling Green Ballpark. You won't want to miss it after the break. Welcome back. Well, we had a lot of fun yesterday at Bowling Green Ballpark, and Scott was our phone cameraman a little bit, and we actually got a live shot of us on our Facebook Live of Patrick and I warming up a little bit, getting our...
Well, I threw my arm out. If we want to call that warming up, sure, we can go with that.
Well, I will say it was pretty impressive. Check this out. Patrick going up and gearing up. 60-mile-per-hour pitch right over there. And then, of course, they had to throw me right afterwards on the cartons of milk. Oh. Is that what it is?
It was like wood cartons.
Milk.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So let's check this out. I'm going to
I'll
embarrass
give
myself.
Maxwell credit here. He smacked the top one.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Okay, so if we don't see you back here on the desk tomorrow night, it's because the Hot Rods called and offered a contract.
Well,
right?
they called me earlier and they said, we saw the 60-mile-per-hour fastball. Why not get you on the mound there?
Listen, I give you props, Patrick. I get it. You threw. I threw 46 when I was doing it. That's why I had you on the speed pitch.
He said before we went live, he was like, I don't want to embarrass myself. I was like, fine, I'll take the bullet for us.
Listen, I'll take the accuracy. 3 is not too bad, not too shabby.
And also, one of y'all pointed out, you had a sport coat on. So, you know, it's not easy to move in these things, you know, whenever you're trying to stay crisp because you guys still have to go on the air.
Exactly.
Right. So I give y'all props.
Yeah. What I will say is it's crazy to see guys that throw 90 to 100 miles per hour in this league. It's insane that these guys are throwing so quickly.
Yeah, it just shows the different talent at the professional level. I mean, my shoulder is sore from throwing a 60-mile-per-hour fastball. That's 30 mile per hour less than most pros. That's insane.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm impressed though. The accuracy, that was pretty amazing. I think if I would have thrown it behind me, you know, like I would have been good.
Granny toss underhand.
Exactly, that would have been my style.
Well, the important thing was y'all had fun.
No, exactly.
It was a blast. The Hot Rods are amazing. The hospitality was incredible. The interviews were amazing. I mean, big shout out to the Hot Rods. Yeah. Not only on their win, but just they're an amazing franchise.
Yeah, and it was really nice to get to cover them throughout the portion of the year that we were here for it.
Absolutely. Great weather, too. Y'all couldn't have asked for a better couple of days.
Could not agree more.
And let me just say, I enjoyed being there to cover the weather live. It's always fun to kind of get out of these 4 walls and take the weather on the road and use the iPad to control the maps. But check out the sunrise and the sunset for tomorrow. Brought to you by Window World. Should be good conditions except for some fog tomorrow morning, 6:39. That sunset. 6:33 tomorrow evening. Could have an isolated storm as we go through the afternoon hours tomorrow. Otherwise, looking like a pretty pleasant day. Last warm day for a little while.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, fellas. And thank you at home for joining us tonight. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow morning. Tage and Lexi. We'll see you at 6 a.m.